Hello, everyone. Today, we continue our fascinating journey into the gritty world of true crime stories. Get ready to analyze, explore, and uncover the mysteries of a dramatic and strange case. Are you ready to dive into this thrilling investigation? Let's get started. On December 15, 1999, Great Falls Police obtained a search warrant for the home of the most miserable individual they were about to encounter. Things begin to unravel when they find a diary containing encrypted entries. These entries are actually recipes with disturbing names like Little Boy Pot Pie, French Fried Kid, and Little Boy Stew. The police weren't sure if this was a real recipe or just a fantasy, but they sensed something extremely disturbing was going on right under their noses. The investigation is about to delve into the dark secrets hidden in the kitchen of the unkempt house. 10-year-old Zachary Xerxes Ramsay, also known as Zach, is a carefree and sociable child. His high spirits endeared him to teachers, parents, and friends. He lived at 4004 Street North and attended Whittier Elementary School. Groups of friends often gather before the bell rings to run, jump, and play together before school. Unfortunately, those happy childhood moments are about to have a tragic end. It was a cold winter morning on Tuesday, February 6, 1996. Zach was wearing a blue denim jacket with green sleeves, a blue football jersey with his last name gold lettering, soccer jeans, and black high-top sneakers. The plan, as usual, was to gather outside the school, play, and chat before the bell rang. In his excitement, Zach almost forgot his lunchbox at home. Following his routine, Zach started walking to school without knowing that today would be different from any other day. Zach was well known in the Great Falls community and had never had anything to fear until that day. The street was covered with snow, and he kicked a small snowball as he walked. He then entered an alley that made his route shorter, even though his school was only 6 blocks away. It's unclear whether he noticed a man sitting in an off-white 4-door sedan parked in the alley behind a home on the 400 block of 5th Avenue North, with the engine idling, loaded, while the figure was still there. Zach is a smart kid, and you can be sure that if he finds out anything suspicious, he will change his route. This area was very popular with Zach, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. However, somewhere between where the alley cut into 6th Street and exited 7th Street, Zach disappeared. His friends, who were waiting for him, assumed that he must be sick and stay at home. In keeping with school policy, Zach's mother was called and informed of her son's absence. After unsuccessfully searching for Zach, his mother reported him missing. The news of a child going missing while on his way to school shocked the public, who were not ready to believe the worst. In 1995 and 1996, Montana saw an average of one violent crime every 6 hours and 30 minutes. The truth is that they still don't know anything about the darkness that has fallen on their normally peaceful and happy community. An immediate, large-scale search for young Zach was launched in Great Falls. News quickly spread, and hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and rescue teams joined the effort. The focus is around the area around the 400 block of North 4th Street, where Zach was last seen. During the search, investigators discovered a pair of blue jeans and a blue denim jacket believed to belong to Zach. The jeans were found in a trash can near the alley where Zach disappeared, while the jacket was found in a nearby field. Several interviews were conducted around the street where Zach disappeared. Many witnesses claimed to have seen a boy matching Zach's description. Others knew the boy's name and had seen him on the way to school that morning. Witness accounts became increasingly disturbing as the investigation progressed. A witness remembered seeing Zach in the alley, and it appeared Zach was waiting for someone. An even more disturbing story comes from a family of 3 living in an apartment in an alley. They said they saw Zach in the alley that morning and also saw an off-white 4-door car nearly run him over. Another witness who lived near the end of the alley reported seeing Zach crying, with an obese, uncomfortable adult man following closely behind at around 7:45 a.m. One person claimed to know the identity of the adult man who followed Zach. He saw a man wearing a navy blue police jacket taking out the trash. The witness also saw Zach turn into the alley, while the man stood still behind the trash can. The witness recognized the man as Nathaniel Bar-Jonah, a man with a disturbing criminal record involving children. To get to the bottom of this case, investigators need to delve deeper into Nathaniel's background. Nathaniel was born on February 15, 1957, in Worcester, Massachusetts, as David Paul Brown to parents Philip Brown and Tyra Brown. He is the youngest child in a family of 3 children. As an infant, he seemed gluttonous, always wanting to eat more. His muscles were not fully developed, and his overweight condition left him immobile. He also despises being touched. When he was just 3 weeks old, the boy developed hydrocephalus, a condition in which excess fluid fills the brain cavities, putting pressure on the brain and causing brain damage. He finally recovered from this disease when he was 3 years old. The Brown family decided to move to Lantana, Florida, where Nathaniel spent his early years. His father, Philip, was a heavy equipment mechanic at a local construction company and was also a strict disciplinarian. Nathaniel was not a well-behaved child, and he had a habit of stealing from his siblings and other children. Philip considered this theft to be shoplifting, a mental health disorder that causes people to want to steal, and he also feared that it had something to do with Nathaniel's sexual orientation, so he often disciplined him with a thick leather belt. Whether it was the violence, the brain damage, or just the way Nathaniel was born, he turned out to be an extremely strange individual with some disturbing quirks. He shows signs of psychological discomfort, such as scratching his skin until it scabs and then chewing on the wound until it bleeds. He also has no qualms about eating his own skin, which the school considers a disturbing sight, and his classmates are horrified by him. His mother was frequently called by the school about this habit, but she offered no explanation, nor seemed particularly upset by this strange, self-soothing behavior. In 1964, a few months after moving back to Worcester, Nathaniel lured a girl into his basement with the promise of showing her a Ouija board he had received as a gift. He then used the Ouija board to strangle her, but her scream rang out, and Nathaniel's mother appeared before it was too late. The girl was released, and the matter was never discussed again. In his mind, Nathaniel was going to a place of no return. In 1973, the second incident happened. Nathaniel wears a police officer's jacket and writes a worded note using magazine cutouts that lure 2 boys from Webster to a cemetery. He offered the boys $20 and a surprise, but they refused because they thought he looked odd. The boy's mother refused to press charges against Nathaniel, believing he needed psychiatric help rather than the criminal justice system. This decision would later haunt everyone, because whenever Nathaniel wore his police jacket, a child somewhere was in danger. In late March 1975, Nathaniel, now 18 years old and about to drop out of high school, spotted a boy walking to school in his infamous police uniform. Nathaniel kidnapped a boy named Richard O'Connor. Luckily, a neighbor discovered the kidnapping and reported it to the police. A patrol car later spotted the car used in the kidnapping in a parking lot and called for backup. Nathaniel was ordered out of the car, and Richard O'Connor lay there, near death, bloody and in critical condition, having also defecated and urinated on himself. Nathaniel was arrested at that time, but was released after probation. During that time, Nathaniel traveled to nearby Hartford, Connecticut, where he impersonated a police officer and kidnapped a girl. However, the girl began convulsing and vomiting during the assault, after which Nathaniel threw her out of the car onto the sidewalk. A witness recorded his license plate number, leading to his arrest. One might believe that with these two arrests, Nathaniel's threat has finally come to an end. However, this case is unlike any other. Despite being arrested for assault, this information never reached Nathaniel's probation officer, and he was paroled in May 1976, marking the end of his probation. This release was handed over to Nathaniel with a letter thanking him for his cooperation. After being released from prison in 1977, the arrests did not change Nathaniel one bit. On September 24, 1977, he saw two boys leaving the White City movie theater in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, laughing and having fun. At this point, Nathaniel claims to be an undercover FBI agent and somehow convinces the boys to get into his car. Nathaniel drove to a remote area, handcuffed the boys, and began assaulting them. Weighing 375 pounds, Nathaniel repeatedly jumped on the chest of one of the boys, only stopping when he thought he had killed him. After leaving the first boy on the side of the road, he drove away with the other boy still alive in the trunk. However, the boy who was left behind regained consciousness and found help within an hour. For this crime, Nathaniel received a maximum sentence of 18 to 20 years at Massachusetts Concord Correctional Institution. Now assigned to a prison psychologist, the current facility is deemed unsuitable for Nathaniel after he engages in conversations listing deranged sexual fantasies. He was then transferred to Bridgewater State Hospital, a state-run treatment center for dangerous sexual offenders, where he will remain indefinitely. During a second search of Nathaniel's home, detectives discovered a series of disturbing evidence. Emerging from his kitchen ceiling was a long rope, while two albums with cutout pictures of children were found, along with a document on knots and bondage, as well as an article about automatic suffocation. Digging deeper into Nathaniel's activities at the time of Zach's disappearance, investigators discovered that he did not show up for work on February 6, 1996, the day Zach disappeared, nor the days before that. While his mother accompanied her brother to the funeral that day, Nathaniel's car remained in the house, raising suspicions. Inside the house, the police stumble upon a special list titled Lake Webster, which includes the names of 54 boys, including Nathaniel's first victims from Massachusetts and the macabre Zachary Ramsay, with the word dead written after his name. The grim listing comes with a trove of 3,500 photos of children, as well as an undeveloped film depicting Nathaniel and 3 unidentified boys. Magazines filled with encrypted articles were also seized, pending further examination. Hin An Kak Han Chong. Interviews with Nathaniel's roommates shed more light on his disturbing behavior. One former housemate saw clothes similar to those in which Zach was last seen, while another recounted that Nathaniel casually mentioned Zachary Ramsay, claiming that the boy never was found because he was fragmented and scattered. A month later, the encrypted diary was cracked, revealing a cookbook with recipe titles alluding to Nathaniel's most depraved fantasies. The investigation took an even darker turn when police discovered a large, stained piece of plywood in Nathaniel's garage, scrubbed with bleach and repeatedly beaten with a meat cleaver as if to be used as a cutting board. Temporary. A luminol test revealed faint outlines of the letters TEAA, a possible reference to the murder of James TAAA, a boy found buried and strangled in New Hampshire in 1973. In the days after Zach's disappearance, Nathaniel hosted cookouts in the neighborhood, serving up distinctively flavored deer burgers. However, records show he neither owned a gun nor had a hunting license, casting doubt on his claims of personally hunting, killing, and butchering. Hinan Antkakhai Kodduoktimthai. The most chilling discovery came when an excavation at one of Nathaniel's former residences found 21 bones of a boy between 8 and 13 years old. DNA analysis showed that the remains belonged to two different African-American men, neither of whom was Zach. The identity of this young victim remains a mystery, a haunting testament to the depths of Nathaniel's depravity. Hin an mekwa Zach. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Zach's mother still refused to believe that her son was dead, perhaps stuck in a state of denial, unable to cope with the unimaginable pain of loss. The emerging truth about Zach's disappearance, or perhaps encouragement from the defense team, would never come to light, as Zach's mother refused to believe that Nathaniel was involved in any way. She was convinced by a psychic that Zach was living in Italy, and even threatened to protect Nathaniel if he was brought to trial for her son's murder. Ultimately, charges related to Zach's disappearance were dropped due to lack of evidence. Unable to close Zach's case, police and prosecutors had no choice but to focus on other potential victims linked to Nathaniel. The two names on the list found at his house both belonged to boys living in the same apartment complex, and one of them confirmed that Nathaniel had invited them to spend the night and then sexually abused them. However, the other boy visited Nathaniel in prison and claimed he was his friend and that Nathaniel had never harmed him. Despite these setbacks, a 6-year-old girl named Mary Patron, who had been assaulted by Nathaniel before, recognized him immediately. However, the statute of limitations had expired, so Nathaniel could not be charged for this offense. Ultimately, Nathaniel was sentenced to 130 years in prison without the possibility of parole for kidnapping, aggravated assault, and sexual assault of various victims. In 2008, he was found unconscious in his cell from a heart attack and was presumed dead, taking many of his horrifying secrets to the grave. Nathaniel's case highlights the systemic failures that allowed him to continue his crimes over the course of decades. Inadequate communication and information sharing between authorities, as well as a lack of understanding of his behavior, directly contributed to the brutal abuse of many children. Despite Zach's mother's objections, a judge finally declared him legally dead in 2011, although she continued to believe he was still alive. The question remains whether modern systems are equipped to effectively deal with such situations, or whether there are still individuals who slip through the cracks, allowing them to continue their horrific actions. This case serves as a stark reminder of the need for comprehensive reform and increased vigilance to protect the most vulnerable members of our society. It's sad that we still have to face such crimes in modern society. The current legal system clearly still has many loopholes, allowing child abusers and abusers like Nathaniel to escape the punishment they deserve. Errors in information sharing and a lack of understanding of the behavior of these criminals led to terrible consequences. Many innocent victims were harmed. It is sad to see the legal system unable to protect the most vulnerable children in society. We must demand comprehensive and radical reform to stop child predators like Nathaniel. Strengthening supervision, sharing information between authorities, and strictly handling those who exploit children are necessary measures. We cannot accept loopholes in the legal system These loopholes only contribute to creating conditions for criminals like Nathaniel to continue committing horrific crimes. This is a serious warning about the need for fundamental changes to better protect children and innocent lives in our society. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any interesting cases in the True Crime Stories series. Be the first to update dramatic and thrilling crime stories.